Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, it's the shortest track on the schedule in the fastest half-mile oval. Here from the last great Coliseum for race number 8 of the playoffs and race number 20 of the season. It's the Overtake iRacing League Cup Series, live on VSPEED. Welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Bradley Cooper, alongside Logan Threlkel. I got my co-commentator back for the night, and I'm kind of excited because, Logan, we've watched several races without you, and not much has changed in the playoff picture just yet, except for the fact that Jonathan Cofield has locked himself in officially to the Final Four, so he'll be a force to be reckoned with, and he might dethrone Yusuf Ghali.
Bradley, I'm happy to be back, man. It's been some weeks since I've been here, and, you know, OiL is always a great time. These guys put on a great show week by week, and, congratulations to Jonathan Cofield locking himself in. Yusuf Ghali, he's going to try his best to hold him off here and reclaim that title, but Cofield's a force to be reckoned with for sure. We'll see how all these guys do here tonight.
Tough racetrack to do so. Bristol is almost the equivalent of putting shoes in the dryer. Some drivers call it the gymnasium with race cars in it, but here's the track map. 0.53 miles, 30-degree banking. Some of the steepest banking you'll see, just 3 degrees less than our super speedway at Talladega. So here tonight, you're going to be trying to stay up on the top. It's going to be a little bit difficult to stay up there because there's a fine line here on this concrete surface between wall riding and getting into the wall. Race analysis coming up on your screen here. 250 laps, 35-mile-per-hour pit road speed limit, and they will have to use the backstretch to enter pit road. So that's another factor that drivers will have to pay attention to. Of course, 5 tire sets. This is going to be the last of the 2 races before we hit 6 available tire sets, and it'll be the longest race at Nashville Super Speedway. But this one, a long one as well. 250 laps it's quite considerable, 125 miles, but this track is very, very difficult and tough to get around, so these guys will have to be careful every single lap. So now, sorry about that. I was just going to say it's going to take us track side here, Logan, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, if this race stays green, you know, Bristol's known for around that 15-second mark or less per lap, so it could go quick, but after all, it is Bristol, so we're definitely going to see some cautions here, no matter how good and clean these guys can go. So expect to see some fireworks towards the end of it for sure.
Well, 18 cars are going to be out there on the grid. Let's take you trackside now and find that starting lineup. On the pole with a 14.488, it's Eric Hutton in the number 87. Last week's winner, I apologize. It was John Schwartz that won last week, so that's on me. I would like to apologize to John Schwartz. Cofield finished second to him. They battled it out. So it's actually Schwartz that has locked himself in. Please ignore everything I say here from here on out. I have no idea what I'm talking about. No, in all realness, just a couple hundredths of a second, not even that. It's a couple thousandths separating these two for the front row. How embarrassing am I right now? Off to a great start. Radburn Shutters is going to start in 3rd with James Silvers in 4th. Row number 3 belongs to Blake Hensley in the 31. Sean Kaser is going to start in 6th. 7th spot, Jonathan Cofield. Not the winner last week, but a great finish. He made up 20 points on your points leader. In 2nd position now coming into tonight. Brandon Holder will start in 8th. And rounding out your top 10, it's Cody Anderson and Matt Grenier.
Coming in behind that 5th row in 11th, Angelo Ronas in the 29 car, next to Nick Mills in the 88. Yusuf Ghali, our points leader, sitting in 13th to start this race, next to a newcomer, Timothy Averill. Daniel Cunningham in the 08 will take the 15th position, next to AJ Stravato in the 33. Last but not least, we have David Farmer in the 84, next to another newcomer this week, Drayton Cook in the 18th position.
So here you're sitting midfield. I don't know what your opinion is here, Logan, as we get set to go green, but If I'm 10th place on back at this racetrack, I'm just going to let the laps tick away, try to get the passing done on pit road. I'm not going to force the issue. I'm going to let the early third or even half of this race just go by without really trying to pass. You know, it's just one of those tracks that you can very quickly get caught up in somebody else's business and be done for the day.
Yeah, it's excuse me, it's not an easy one to make passes at, but all it takes is one mistake from the guy in front of you, and a lot of times you'll end up with a clear lane, and then that mistake is holding up the rest of the cars behind him, so it gets you a little bit of a cushion. But it's really just, I'm with you on that. I'd be letting the majority of the race go by before I start getting too aggressive.
Well, for race number 8, the pace car is going to get out of the way, and for the first time here in Thunder Valley, we get set to go green. Green flag is out, and the Overtake iRacing League Cup Series is underway.
A huge jump there, so back in the car in front of him. Luckily, no damage for him, it appears, but Don Schwartz definitely got the nut right off the rip.
Unfortunately, I cranked the volume way up on that. I'm not sure who got the contact, but they're able to hold it together. Cody Anderson has already picked up a spot after that. The 9 of Brandon Holder is working the outside of the 25 of Sean Kaser going into turn 1. Tight battles here in mid-pack, and this is what I was talking about. I don't know if I want to be in that situation, but already Holder and Anderson both just moving up through this field, trying to tick them away. 5 laps into this race, they've already picked up 2 spots each. Anderson touches the wall there in 3 and 4. The 17 just in front of him of James Silvers might be holding up that high line just a little bit.
Yeah, it seemed just a tad, but nothing too crazy. This race is already, for the most part, single filed out very quickly.
Eric Hutton is pulled away by about 0.8 of a second over John Schwartz. They're just getting complete on the passes, and we'll ride on board with Blake Hensley, show you what this wild ride looks like. Let's take it over to the proper scene. There is Blake Hensley in the onboard shot, currently riding in 7th spot, but this is, you know, that's locked in focus. I don't think he's looked up one time. We're waving to him. He's not paying any attention to us.
It's hard to at a track like this. You know, there's constantly on the gas, on the brake, turning left, hopefully not turning right. But it's hard to get away and really even look at anything, let alone just getting your focus off of what's happening on your screen.
Almost some 3 wide in front while we were on board with him. The 17, the 9, and the 42. This is for 4th through 6th position. Briefly there was an offset. Cody Anderson trying to get clear of Brandon Holder, and then the 17 of Silvers made a little mistake to put them 3 wide. Meanwhile, the racing going on a little bit further behind this. Yusuf Ghali, our points leader, on the outside of Matt Grenier for 10th. Looking back from Eric Hutton, 87, 1.1 seconds. You got to wonder, Cody, or excuse me, Logan, if he's overdriving it, trying to pull away from the rest of the field, he might get reeled back in by Schwartz, you know, 20, 30 laps into this run.
He very well could, but Hutton and Schwartz, both in practice, were running very consistently. And it's no surprise that the 87 car is already this far ahead. Now, again, John Schwartz, not one that you want to discount by any means, so that 1 second gap, especially this early in the race, really doesn't mean anything.
He shaved it back down there a couple of tenths, got it back under a second that time by. Almost identical lap times, though. These guys are ticking away, and seems like they give and they take back and forth. Teammates out on the racetrack, so you have to bear that in mind, but they're probably not going to race each other too early in this thing, even if Shorts does end up catching up to Hutton. I think they'll cut each other a break. There's a driver that's had a tough break in the past 3 weeks. You know, remember coming in, Radburn Shutters was having a dominant regular season, was actually leading the points, starting the reset. Ends up falling out of the top 5. He is the last car of the final 8 coming into tonight. He's been winless for a while. He absolutely needs this race. Mathematically, probably not possible for him to point his way in. So he needs a win here tonight if he wants a chance to be in that final 4.
There's a lot of drivers here that really could use this win. And like you said, Radburn Shutters being one of them. And again, a dominating regular season performance from Shutters, so he's also not one that you can discount. He's up there in the top contender spot for sure. That's why they are in the top 8.
Brendan Holder was finally able to get clear of the 17. We watched that battle for about 10-12 laps before we checked out what was going on in the rest of the field. Silvers falls back to 5th. Cody Anderson has really turned up the heat. He's put the pressure on here into the turns, I believe that's 3 and 4. I stand corrected, 1 and 2, but you see a little bit lower line here from the 42 car. That can save your tires a little bit, and I think after maybe 40 laps or so, Anderson might have a good shot at getting around the 17. He's just got to be patient.
And that high line definitely seems to be the dominant preference for the leaders right now. But, you know, with this view specifically, you can see all the way back through the field, there's not a preferred line, it seems. They're kind of bouncing all over the place. You see them on the low side, see them in the middle. Cody finally taking some high line laps here, and it's just a mix match back through this field.
But you can kind of nurse the tires back to health, calm that right rear down a little bit by running the bottom. Eventually you'll reach a point though where you'll have to go high if you want to be able to keep the speed up, and I think that's where we're starting to transition to, is the guys that ran the low line for a long time, they're going up high to play defense because it's a little bit faster up there. As you see, the 25 gets around Blake Hensley on the outside. The 42 was almost completely clear of this. Snaps off the outside wall out of turn 2. Opens up a big door here for Hensley. Into the wall. Hensley's going to be clear. Not really sure what was going on with the camera there. A little out-of-body experience for Cody Anderson, but now he's going to get past. It's a freight train to the inside. That car probably ran up high for too long, and he's starting to lose position after position. Yusuf Ghali now gets around for 7th. Still with me there, Logan?
I certainly am, Bradley.
Just checking on you, making sure you're still alive. It's been a lot cleaner than I thought it would be here at Bristol. I was assuming that we'd at least have one caution by now because this track is very tough to pass on. You see all the side-by-side that we've been having since the green flag dropped. Almost some 3 wide at moments, but this is where you're starting to have a little bit of ill handling. The car's going to kind of sneak up. It's not going to exit the same way that it did at the start of this run. These guys are going to have to be mindful of that when they get to the inside. There's the 25 trying to get clear of Cody Anderson. Just in front of them, Blake Hensley to the inside for the 5th spot.
I'm trying to watch back here through the field, and it kind of seems like the 42, looks like he's going for like a midline entry into the corner and maybe just a little bit too much speed. He's caught the wall quite a few times already, but luckily able to keep it straight. And like you said, a very early green flag run. Wasn't quite expecting that.
And while we were talking about all that, guess what's heating up? The battle for the lead is 0.2 of a second. Just a moment ago, it was 1.2. Let's subtract an entire second off this racetrack. Off the back of Eric Hutton. John Schwartz looking for the lead. Now into the dirty air, though. This is where it gets more difficult and more technical. You have to really change your line. 48 car probably going to use his stuff up a little bit more than he was to catch Eric Hutton, just trying to hang with him at this point.
And at this point, you have to worry about letting that 44 of Radburn Shutters back into the picture as he's starting to close the gap little by little, as John Schwartz and Eric Hutton are kind of battling, not quite. Like you said, they are teammates after all, so you probably won't see too much of a fight from either one of them at the moment. But with the 44 car back there in third place, just slowly closing that door, now down to just over a second, where a few laps ago he was around that 1.3 area.
They actually made a little bit of a mistake that last time by and lost some time to him. But this time around, he is another tenth faster. He is shaving away that lead. It's down to just 1 second to the 48 of John Schwartz. That's the 84 in front of him. David Farmer was courteous to the leaders, let them go right on around. Little off the pace here for the 84 tonight. Remember, he was one of the drivers in that top 8, and just not a good day for him as well. He's currently in 18th position.
A little bit further back, we've got a gaggle of cars between Daniel Cunningham, AJ Stravato, Matt Kinnear, back here battling for the 9th position.
Well, that's at 17 of James Silvers. He was up in the top 5 to start this race, but he's since fallen back to 10th. About to fall back to 11th as Stravato goes by on the outside. Matt Grenier was going to be the next car in line, but heads up move there by Silvers to take away that line and stop the hemorrhaging. I mean, just heads up move there. 08 Daniel Cunningham on board with him. This is a driver that had a win this season, but is currently out of the top 8. Daniel just looking to win races at this point. The phase pop. 08, another good flavor. He's just going to try out all the flavors until he goes back to the orange. I don't know why he ever changed from the orange creamsicle. That was when he was winning races.
You know, it's I like to see the variety of the cars. It's definitely cool that he's done that through the season, but I'm with you. You know, if you win a race, I feel like you have to stick with it for a little while.
Yeah, just use the luck out of it. I mean, he strung together, I believe it was 3 top 3s with that car, or that in the truck series or B series, I can't quite remember, but he just had great week after week. 84 in the wall there. Farmer almost gets to contact with the 31 of Hensley, and he's still struggling his way through here as they're peaking 3 wide out of the exit of 4. That was a close one right there for Farmer. I know he does not want to cause any problems, especially for these guys that are up here in the top 10. But he's got to be kicking himself right now. He's just really off the pace, and this is unusual. Farmer, usually one of the cars that we can count on to be in the top 5 during these events.
But that's Bristol for you. It's a tough track, man. You just it's hard to get used to, and if you can't find that rhythm early, you know, we're on a 50-lap green flag run to start the race, and he wasn't able to find the line that worked for him best. But he's doing a great job of trying to be as courteous as he can to everybody getting around him.
That was the 88 of Nick Mills that just took it 3 wide in between Matt Grenier and the lap down machine of Dave Farmer. And it's getting even grittier here as they come off the exit of turn 2, trying to get by the 17 of Silvers to crack into the top 10. Battle for the lead has tightened up amongst 4 cars now. Eric Hutton leading by 2/10. The 48 of Schwartz brushes the wall coming off of turn 4. He's got shutters all over his back bumper, and here comes Yusuf Ghali to the inside for 3rd now. Ghali has picked up 9 positions. He's looking for his 10th one to the inside. Can't quite get it completed. But how about that for the 45? He needs this race right here to recover from last week. Finished 11th, a lap down last week. Didn't lead a lap, didn't get stage points. Rough time all the way through the race. I believe it would probably have been easier for him to just start from the pits a lap down and race his way back through, because every time he had an opportunity to get his lap back, he was caught up in a caution.
Speaking of cautions, I'm not sure how, but the 31 of Blake Hensley, he came in for a pit. So we have one car that has already freshened up on tires and fuel. Blake Hensley now back to 18th.
You had me worried there for a moment. I thought maybe Hensley had made a mistake trying to get onto pit road, but he's just on fresh tires, locked back in here, cutting through this traffic. A little short pit mode, but really we're a quarter of the way through this race so far. Hensley on the prowl. Look at the moves here to the inside.
This is where it's going to get a little bit hairy whenever you got such a fast car compared to all these other drivers out here on these 60 lap little tires.
Contact with the leaders, and I believe that was Hensley that got into him there. We might have to go back and watch this on the instant replay as we have a pass for the lead. Don't know if we're going to see it get completed, but a little bit of damage on the front of Eric Hutton's car. Back on the VSPEED instant replay. Watch this right here with the 31. He gets down in the, just trims the back of Farmer. I think Farmer was trying to get out of the way because the leaders were coming, but Hensley just had fresher tires, and it was so much faster there on the bottom that he got into the back of Farmer, had nowhere to go.
That was incredible to watch. Just Hutton being able to avoid that, and then Yusuf Ghali nearly getting into the back of the 87 car and somehow managing to not turn Eric Hutton there. That was an interesting one.
Well, this kind of hits the reset button on some of these drivers. Schwartz is now the one challenging for the lead as he peeks to the inside. Looking low on Eric Hutton for the first spot. Behind them, Yusuf Ghali and Jonathan Cofield now into the mix. These two looked like they were saving tires. They were saving something back there. Cofield actually putting the pressure on the 44 on the inside. This top four right on top of each other again. You got to watch out for that 44 and 58. The 58's been hot as of late, and he definitely puts his time in here at Bristol. Saw him in the Sunoco Cup Series, had a great start. He started on the pole. He led about 30 laps or so, got caught up in an incident, but he definitely had top 5 speed at that racetrack. And, you know, with a field of 37, 38 cars, that's saying something. Even here tonight, though, with 18, he's up in the top 3, and he's definitely showing it as he passes Yusuf Ghali on the outside.
We're talking about speed. Just to kind of recap on this, with Blake Hensley taking those tires and having, nearly 50 laps. Actually, it is 50 laps difference. He is currently running right around the high 14-second lap time, where everybody else is around the 16 to 16.2. So nearly a 1.5 second difference for that 31 car compared to everybody else on the field.
Real issue, though, here, Logan, and, we got to factor this in. He's going to be about 20-plus laps deep on his tires when everyone else comes down pit road. And barring that we don't have a yellow, these guys are going to kind of do what he did to them, where he's going to be freight trained by the whole pack of cars. So it might have been too short on the entry to pit road, and I'm sure guys are going to take note of that, but he's kind of split this race into quarters if he pits that early every time.
And it's going to be a tough one to call based off of strategy because...
Oh, we had a pass for the lead. Sorry about that. Sorry to cut you off here, but we had a pass for the lead. Cofield got around. Let's back it up a little bit further. This looks like a good old-fashioned clear at Bristol. Cofield on the point. Nicely done.
Very nicely done.
Radburn Shutters is now caught in a hornet's nest. Blake Hensley on those fresher tires. AJ Stravato looking to peak for the 3rd position, and 3 wide with the 31 of Hensley. Hensley is not making any friends on these fresher tires. He's going to have to be more patient. These guys might get up and end up taking him out on accident. 87 in the wall. This is going to open the door for Radbird Shutters out of 2. I think the damage on the front of that 87 might be affecting it just a little bit on the exits.
I would have to imagine so, because it seems like every time that Eric Hutton is getting passed right now, it's on the exit. It's you can see that front bumper just barely caved in right there in the center. That's enough to affect the aero on this car and really hold you up on the exit.
And Shutters wasn't quite clear there when he got by Hutton. He went up to the outside, and a little, almost the same example right there from the 48, but they were clear. 87 Hutton was just clipping on the back of the 44. Got him a little bit wiggly loose, and he tags the outside wall. Here comes Nick Mills to the inside. We're approaching that mark that everyone's trying to get to right now. Lap 100. I think is the mark that everyone's on point for right now. And there might be a method to this, because if all these drivers try to make it to the lap 100 mark and Hensley is out there with, you know, say 50 lap pressure tires, he might be able to work his way up here into the top 3 before it's all said and done. 20 laps to go, and he's about 11 seconds back, but he is the fastest car on the racetrack by a long shot.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any problem for Blake Hensley to at least see the top 5 before lap 100. But yeah, absolutely the fastest car on the track at the moment due to those pressure tires, and like possibly David Farmer coming in for some fresh tires and maybe a little bit of damage repair. Been in there for 45 seconds already. We'll see him back out here on the track shortly, but 8 laps down to that 84 car. Definitely not the race he was looking for today.
Yeah, he might just be parking it for the night. Not quite sure what's going on with the 84 machine, but nonetheless, Jonathan Cofield, second place finisher there last week. I know I confused everybody at the start of this race talking about who previously won, but Cofield got second, looking to lock himself. So we'll have 2 Johns in the top 4 guaranteed, with only 2 races left, this being one of them, Martinsville next week. So it's going to be the short track era just before Nashville, Nashville Super Speedway. I kind of choked up on that because we call it a super speedway. That track is 1.3 miles.
Yeah, that's by my definition, not quite a super speedway, but I know with the history of NASCAR, when that track was built, it was classified as a super speedway. We just haven't decided to change anything whenever it comes to the name of it.
Yeah, we've been informed by our other producer and co-commentator, Morgan Cook, that the naming behind that track was because it's bigger than the Fairgrounds racetrack, so it is considered much higher speed. So it was the Super Speedway of Nashville, and they've just kept the name ever since. But by definition now, I mean, we've got tracks that we're not even lifting off the throttle, and you want to talk about a place that you definitely have to lift off the gas. Nashville Super Speedway is similar to Iowa or Kentucky, where you're definitely coming off of the corner really tight, and you have to be off the throttle in the entry or you'll hit the wall. Side by side here for 6th and 7th. Sean Kaser trying to get around Eric Hutton. Almost door checks him coming into the entry of 3. These two have been going at it now for a couple laps. Hutton just trying to hold on. He had some great success to start the race. He led 67 laps, but now here on lap 89, he finds himself falling out of the top 5 and almost back to 7th. He might consider coming down pit road here and short pitting these guys. All contact there with the 25 for sure that time, even though it was net Cody was definitely going to hit the 87, and they're going to try it again, holding on for these stage points. Hutton knows they're important.
There in a couple of those shots, Bradley, you can see that 31 starting to creep up. Blake Hensley made his way back up to 8th place.
Oh, a little door check there from the 84. Maybe Farmer letting him know he wasn't happy about what he did earlier in this race. Down to the outside of Sean Kaser. This is close for the top 5. What you pretty much called it. He's going to be right on the cusp of that, but I think he's going to get pinned here. Oh, wow. Rocket ship there with the 17. Where did Silvers come from? I think he's short pitted as well, but I don't think he's going to have enough time to recover at all. He's 3 laps down.
Yeah, Silvers came from a different area code for that pass. That was quite wild.
So Hensley up to 6. A little check there off the wall, but he uses the cushion. He's going to get a big run here on Schwartz in 5th spot as Nick Mills was able to get around. They're going side by side with 5 laps to go in this stage, and a little contact there amongst teammates. Here comes the 17. He's on fresher tires to the inside briefly, 3 wide through 3 and 4. 4 laps to go. Does Hensley have enough? About 3/4 faster, but the gap here is 2.5 seconds. That's going to be really close.
And Hensley's time's almost matching the top 5 now. He's still a little bit quicker, but the top 5 still all sitting around that 16.1. So they've done a great job of just holding steady at a good pace to keep themselves up here in the top 5. And I'm with you. I don't think Hensley's got enough to make it back up there before the stage break.
So battle amongst teammates for the 4th position as we get the white flag up in the air. 3rd through 5th is still very much up for grabs, but it's Jonathan Cofield who's going to come around and get the victory. Who's going to get... Oh, man, this is close. There it is, checkered flag. Coming across the line here, back with the 87 of Hutton, Daniel Cunningham across, and there's the checkered as the 45 of Yusuf Ghali crosses the line. Top 10 up on your screen. It was Cofield, Stravato, Shutters for that top 3, and then all the way back to Yusuf Ghali. Blake Hensley on that short pit was able to rally back to 6th position. Quite the drive there. Now it's just a matter of where does that burned set of tires put him on the strategy with everyone else.
Well, I think it's going to have to come down to cautions in the back half of this race. You know, it's evident that these guys can run on old tires here. Most of the field, believe actually 14 out of 18 cars all staying out for that entire 100 lap run. And all did a great job of keeping the car straight, and it's really all that matters. So it's going to be an interesting back half of this race for sure. I think that we'll see some guys get a lot more aggressive, and really just kind of looking forward to seeing how this finish ends.
I'm going back here because I'm not quite sure if AJ Stravato made this commitment line or not. He did not.
Ooh.
He is most likely going to get a penalty for that. Yes, he is. That's unfortunate there for the 33, but you know, that cone is it's there and everybody sees it. I don't know if he was maybe adjusting something, trying to top off, or exactly what was going on there, but you know, 2nd place in the stage, and now he's going to have to fall through the field most likely. Unfortunate series of events there for AJ Stravato.
I believe that's just an EOL for him, isn't it?
I hope. Still frustrating though. I mean, you passed all those cars, you got your way up there. He's already done it once today. He started back in 16th, so that's pretty much second to the last row here tonight. So to be up there in the top 3, now you have to do it all over again. Yeah, plenty of laps, but you know, track position's so key here to not get caught up in other people's business. Like we talked about earlier in this race, what I thought was kind of the mentality for how you should approach this. Of course, very talented guys out here pushing the envelope. It's it's been clean and green all the way to lap 100. I'm very impressed, but I'm not convinced just yet that we're going to keep it that way. So setting up for stage number 2 of the race. Jonathan Cofield gets the stage victory, and he will be your leader. As you see the pass through and the wave arounds go past, the pace car will double back up. 44 of Shutters on the outside. John Schwartz, Blake Hensley, and Sean Case are the top 5. The pole sitter, Eric Hutton, has fallen back to the 6th position. Has a little bit of damage on the nose of that machine, but it's Cunningham, Mills, Stravato, and Golly. So Stravato didn't get a penalty. He did come back down pit road, I believe, to top off with fuel. Here we go. Set back green for the second round of this race. Green flag's out. We're back underway. Already pulled out to about half a second. Jonathan Cofield on the inside with the 58 machine is dialed in on rails. We saw this earlier in the race as well with Hutton, though. He pulled away from this guy right here, and it wasn't too long after, about 25, 30 laps, he started to reel him back in. Schwartz is keeping check here.
There's a lot of action.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Ooh. Sideways to Stravato. There's our yellow. That's the first caution, and that's what cautions do. They breed more.
These guys clearly got used to those older tires. Maybe overdrove it a little bit for the temperature that they're sitting at currently, but you can just see Cody Anderson get just enough loose, turned down into the 33 of AJ Stravato, putting him into the outside wall. Luckily, nobody else collected in that. Nobody really losing many positions. Didn't seem like too much damage on either one of those cars, so should be able to make a decent recovery for this next restart as long as it'll keep going.
Little wall impact there on the inside for the 42 shouldn't affect him too much. Stravato probably not very happy with that, but you know, Anderson comes loose off of the exit of the corner. It's bound to happen when you're racing that close.
And such a tight track like Bristol, it's inevitable. You know, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and who. Unfortunately, collecting AJ Stravato in that one.
So our first official caution coming about 6 laps after we took the green for stage number 2. You're watching the Overtake iRacing League Cup Series live on VSPEED. We're going to take a quick commercial break here, get caught up with some things, and bring you some more coverage of the 8th race of the playoffs right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Green flags back out here on lap 116. We missed a couple there as we came back, but you're watching the Overtake iRacing League Cup Series live on VSPEED. Jonathan Cofield had the lead there as we rounded off stage number 1. He maintained that. First official caution of the day was between the 42 of Cody Anderson, the 33 of AJ Stravato. We've since sorted that all out. And a pit stop there for the 17 of Silvers. He came back down pit road. He's 2 laps down. And Logan, you kind of mentioned it. You're surprised that he came down there. He should have got one of his laps back.
Yeah, you know, it's just a very odd play in my opinion. He wasn't on that much older tires. Had about 10 laps more than the rest of the field, but you know, it might pay off for him later. We'll just have to see. But to be 2 laps down and not take advantage of that is just odd to me. And they're spinning on the front stretch.
Blake Hensley's around. And that's going to bring out a yellow. Pace car's going to come out for the second time today. And let's see if Blake Hensley had some help. He had help with the wall there, but I don't think that was the cause of it. No, we're going to continue on. Does he get loose on his own? Hard hit off the outside wall across the nose of Daniel Cunningham. That's a hard hit there, and we'll watch it one more time for the blimp camera, but you're going to see the 31 of Hensley just bounce off the wall, and the 08 doesn't even know it's happening. He ends up getting checked by the 84. Farmer has nowhere to go. And so double tap there from the 08, and the 31 spins down the inside, triggers the yellow for the second time today. We're going to see these guys rack him back up. This is the other half of it, Logan. I have to say, I'm not surprised.
You know, I am surprised after that long first green flag run, but you know, on the flip side of that, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner.
Badbird Shutters is going to stay out. So 22 laps on this stint. Probably about, let's say, 8 or 9 of those laps have been green here. Angelo Hronis is also going to stay out and pick up some track position. John Schwartz, who had, I believe he had, scoring on the stint here. I don't know if that's correct. He is ahead of Schwartz for some reason. He might have came down pit road and then didn't actually pit. I'm not entirely sure on that, but for whatever reason, Cofield and Schwartz have won on the stint here, and they're ahead of Hronis. And yeah, I gotta say that's a little confusing to me, but I'll go with it.
I'm trying to make sense of it myself here. I'm also trying to keep an eye on some of these cars coming down pit road as Blake Hensley kind of brake checked. Not sure what car that is behind him there. That would have been Daniel Cunningham.
That is what happened. Angelo Hronis had actually tried to come down pit road and missed his stall, I believe. So he came back in, topped off. That's where he had passed a lot of these cars, was missing the pit stall. So that's where we were a little bit confused here. And so we we kind of bunch these guys back up, put them back into a situation where they have to run side by side with a race car that's pretty much unpredictable, independent rear end, concrete surface, 600 roughly horsepower, and we're going to ask them to do it again here for the third time today.
It's these cautions come in waves at tracks like this, so I would expect to see, another one, and at the same time, they might put together another 100-lap green flag run. It's so unpredictable at a short track.
Hopefully for their sake, they do put together another green flag run, because a few of these cars have already gotten some substantial damage that they might not be able to recover from. Shutters is going to lead him into turn 1. He won the battle off because of staying out. He will be 24 laps with about 9 under green. The 58 of Cofield has a quick blink there, and we're back underway. Never a good moment there when you see a guy blink on a restart. Schwartz was smart, backed up, gave room for where he thought the 58 of Cofield might be. Yusuf Ghali kind of pressing the issue here on the inside, but back here with AJ Stravado. This is a car that's definitely fast enough to be in the top 3. He's proven that once today as he works by the 42 of Cody Anderson, who's 1 lap down. Anderson going to go back to the outside. These two have already got together once today. I'm interested to see if Stravado cuts him any slack. Matt Grenier gets a little bit loose. We're going to look 3 wide. He backs out of it. Wise decision there from Stravado, but he's going to end up losing 2 positions because of it. Right now, if you're Stravado, Logan, what are you doing? What do you do to get around this and make it as painless as possible? You've got some guys that were up front for a lot of this. The 87 of Hutton, of course, led a lot of laps. How do you get around this traffic?
It's so difficult, like we've said time and time again, to make a clean pass at Bristol. If I'm sitting back here in, oh goodness, where are we at with AJ Stravado? 8th place. I'm probably kind of more on the side of letting things even out, and then you slowly start picking people off one by one. Like you said, Stravado clearly has a fast car here, going all the way from 16th to the top 3 there for a short while. He's got the speed to do it. So I think it's just going to be a patience game if you're in Stravado's shoes.
The Cofield cut the nose off of the 48 of Schwartz. The 45 of Ghali peeks to the inside, side by side out of turn 2. 48 on the high line. Looked like he was going to complete the pass there, and it's still not quite there, but there's the 48 now up to 2nd. He'll put the pressure on Shutters. Yusuf Ghali quietly back there in 4th spot. Yeah, like you said, it's just difficult over and over again. You're going to be on the inside or outside of somebody that looks a little bit beyond control, and you have to plan that. You want to chance it now, or do you want to chance it later? Either way, if you're faster than that guy, you got to pass him sometime. And I think that's the boat that Stravado's stuck in right now, because not only does he have guys that he's trying to pick positions off, but he has some lap traffic mixed in here. You have the 84 of Farmer. You got around the 3 of Averill. He had the 42 of Anderson. Just a lot of lap down traffic that he had to contend with, and that might put a damper on his run to the top 3 this time around.
And as we were kind of talking there, I was keeping an eye on Hensley trying to get around the 42 car of Anderson, and it took him a couple laps. Anderson did not make it easy for Blake Hensley whatsoever, but finally able to get around him, and Hensley's going to be hard charging to try to catch back up with this top 5 and throw his name in the hat.
One more time with the onboard camera still locked in. Trying to receive the information as fast as they're getting shot out. Some of these guys have monitors that go well over 144 frames. I have a 240 frames monitor, and I'm going to be honest, after 144, I really can't tell the difference.
I think that might be the old age, Bradley.
Oh. Yeah, no, I don't think that the human eye can see past 144. I just don't. I can't register. It does look smoother, I'll give it that. But that's a lot of information for my brain to process. Speaking of process, here's the 48, methodically working on the 44 of Shutters. Shorts to the inside as they come out of turn 2. Not going to get it that time. He worked high, he worked low, he got a good run, but doesn't look like he's got the speed on the bottom that he does up top, and almost opens up the door for Cofield. He will peek to the inside. Got to take that run somewhere, but yeah, it looks like the bottom of this racetrack pretty much useless at this point.
Seems like the bottom of the racetrack is more of a blocking line at the moment. You see that guy behind you start to make a move low, and really just, you have to have that quick input to make sure that he can't get around you. But for the most part, you're seeing most of these drivers out here taking that middle to high line right now.
You have to be super careful though, taking the air off of a guy. If he still shoots it in there, you can get spun out. I've seen it many times. You kind of throw that block a little bit late, and that guy's already committed to running that and trying to get what we call a slide job going. As we saw a little contact there with the wall, Shutters starting to suffer from handling. Lap 150 about to be underway.
Blake Hensley is successfully caught up with the top 5 now. He'll be working on the back end of the 25, Sean Pacer. He'll be looking to throw his name in the hat, like I said earlier, for that top 3 position here. If he can get around the 25 and then the 45 with Yusuf Ghali.
Hensley he's been pretty impressive here today. I was kind of doubting his strategy there with the short pit. I think right now he's showing that he can do it either way. He can go out there and be faster on tires, or maybe that was just a test run to see what this car was capable of. Now he knows how far he can push it, as we have another blink there from Jonathan Cofield. He is blinking hard as he pulls down to the bottom of the racetrack. 58 car is disappearing in and out of the race. Looks like he's having a major connection issue. He's going to fall out of the top 10.
Very smart move by Cofield there, though, to clear himself of the racing surface during that internet connection issue. We've seen it time and time again where that'll take out the entire field, especially if you're up there running in the top 3.
On your screen right here, the pass for the lead, 48. Side by side, this is the longest that we've seen them stay door to door. He just can't get clear on the bottom. He's going to probably lose it again. He had another opportunity. Shutters made another mistake, but every time he gets to the bottom, he can't quite do it. Yusuf Ghali was trying to help him along there as well. They're going to try it again here into 1 and 2. It just doesn't look like it's working. Actually, 3 and 4. Yeah, it's just the bottom of this racetrack is used. It's just useless at this point.
It's still a good tire-saving line, though. But you're definitely not going to be making any passes right now on that bottom line. But again, we're sitting at coming across for lap 159 out of 250, so still plenty of race to go.
That's what you need to do right there. Almost 3 wide there for a moment, but now the 48 has reversed the roles. He got a good run, but now he's going to clip the wall. Still good enough to come out the leader on lap 159 into 160. But how about that move there? Shutters had kind of planned that, where once the 48 had fallen back enough, he changed to the bottom of the racetrack and forced the 48 up high. So that way when they went into the next corner, that run would have to be taken down low as Shutters went up the racetrack. The problem was that the 48 already knew it was coming. He sent it into the bottom of that racetrack. And yeah, clear for the lead. He took Yusuf Ghali with him.
Yeah, Yusuf Ghali saw that move developing at the same exact time and just followed John Schwartz through it. And fortunately, Radburn Shutters falling 2 positions to it. And Yusuf Ghali's going to take a look at the inside now.
Ghali peaks. He has a decent run. He's worked the bottom a little bit better than everybody else here. He's going to hang it out to dry yet again and gets clear of the 48 as they come off of turn 4. He'll lead the lap now. How about that? I said the bottom was useless. Yusuf Ghali proving me wrong.
You know, I had to say the same thing. I said you weren't going to be making any passes right now on the bottom line, and then we see 2 within 5 laps.
Sean Kaser also peaking to the bottom of the track. Blake Hensley has since fallen off a little bit. He's about 0.2 slower than the guys in front of him. Yusuf Ghali just put down a 15-1. That's impressive this far into the run. We're 42 laps deep on these tires, and they're within 0.2 of qualifying times.
Back-to-back 15-1s for Yusuf Ghali.
Definitely saved his tires here to be on the other side of things. Now catching up to some lap traffic. Angelo Horonis is the last car on the lead lap. Nick Mills right in front of him. The pace has changed. Remember, Nick Mills was up here in the top 5 earlier in this race. But some of these guys are actually on fresher tires than, you know, you look at what Radburn Shutters had stayed out. He held off for a very long time. Quite impressive, you know, even if it was only 8 or 9 laps under green on that stint, it still registers as, you know, a heat cycle. And so 66 laps compared to 46, that's a pretty tough deal, and well done for the 44. He's still in the top 3.
But here's an interesting debacle I want to throw out at you, Bradley. All of these drivers, well, majority of these drivers are coming up on a 50-lap stint. In my short time I was practicing before the race started, I was seeing around the 150 to 160 laps for a tank of fuel. I am curious with how hard these guys are driving right now, if any of them will be able to make it on just straight fuel, or if they're willing to risk it. I know one driver right now, Radburn Shutters, he absolutely cannot. He's already 70 laps deep on this run, so he will have to come in for fuel at some point. So you know he'll be hoping for another caution, but a lot of these drivers out here could very well potentially push that envelope and come away with just a fuel win.
Well, we saw it on Monday. Michael Robinson gets the win at Iowa. The race leader coming out of turn 4 ran out of fuel. So do we really want a repeat of that here on VSPEED? We've had some bangers here in the past few weeks. Closest finish that I've ever seen on iRacing for the win at Talladega. And then we have a race that it boiled down to who saved the most fuel. It really came down to the last 400 feet of the racetrack. Now here we sit again at Bristol with another surprising day of only 2 cautions officially, 3 up on the board, and look at all the lead changes next to that. It's been a pretty dominant day by certain drivers, but you're watching Yusuf Ghali right now lead for the first time today. John Schwartz has fallen off about 2 seconds, and yeah, I don't know, Logan. I don't know if I'd want to push it that far. I think tires are so much more important, and Blake Hensley kind of proved that. Even though he might not be the fastest car on the racetrack, definitely had an advantage over the rest of this field. And your, you know, Shutters or Sean Kaser, you might consider just coming down anyway, just to see what it could do.
Yeah, and I've got to think about that too with Blake Hensley. You know, he pit on lap 50. We had the stage break at 100. He was able to recover 2 laps that he was down from that pit stop and came back to 6th place. I would say with 10 to 15 more laps, he could have very well seen a top 3. So that's also a factor. Do you want to maybe try to short pit these guys, or you know, majority of them thinking around lap 200? Or it's so hard to say. There's so many different strategies that could be involved right now, but I'm with you wholeheartedly on that. That the tires are definitely going to be the most important. But you might see somebody try to risk it for that long run on fuel.
44 Shutters has some lap traffic, and there's the guy right there coming down pit road, so he is going to call it. But he had to. He was the guy that was 20 laps older on fuel, and So he's in a situation where he has to pit. Does this force the hand, though? Because now he's going to be a little bit faster in the rest of this field. Yes, he'll end up 2 laps down, but if we stay green, he could do a Blake Hensley and end up back in the top 5.
It might be early to say, but
it forced
that
the
was
hand.
a very, very fast entry there.
Yusuf Ghali down into the stall on lap 184. He's not going to even chance it. None of these guys are looking like they're going to take a chance. Eric Hutton stays out for a few more laps, but they are 61 on this stint. With the amount of laps left, we're looking somewhere additionally of 80 laps or so on top of that. That's pushing the mark.
It's not going to be an easy feat by any means, but if my math is correct, which we all know VSPEED broadcasters aren't the best at math, I'll admit it. We've talked about it time and time again. But if my math is correct, I think there's some guys out there that have the chance to make that field run.
So cycling through here on lap 188 out of 250. The Overtake iRacing League Cup Series for their 8th playoff race and the final 2 races before we take it down to the final 4 at Nashville Super Speedway. Eric Hutton is back to the lead after starting on the pole. He's had a rough race, but he's dialing back in some more laps, trying to earn his spot into those final 4 positions. Sean Kaser is 1.5 seconds behind him. Another car coming down pit road. AJ Stravado is in as well. Matt Grenier in the 15. So this should probably guarantee that these guys are all going to hit the pits. There's the 87 now. I think if the guys deeper in the field had stayed out, if Shutters had stayed out, I don't think you would have saw this, but it's such an advantage, and we saw that earlier, to have 4 fresh tires. You're talking about almost a full 2 seconds of fall off. By the end of the Sean Kaser's running at 16.1 compared to last time by. He had a 14.915 for shorts on fresh tires. And yeah, Hutton's probably going to come out here in like a 14.6. So yeah, that's a lot of fall off there.
Don Schwartz with a 14.8. He's the quickest one on fresh tires. I take that back. AJ Stravado with a 14.8 flat.
That's his best lap time of the race. It's interesting how you get back into a rhythm, Logan, and now you're just, turning on the afterburner.
Yeah, the 33 car is going to be dangerous if he can continue driving like this. He just set his fastest lap 3 laps in a row, now down to a 14.73.
Well, he's probably driving a little bit pissed off, and I would be too. I mean, he made a mistake, and whatever the case may have been, he came back down pit road, got deep in the field, got caught up in an accident. He's been up here already today. He's already passed all these cars. He's got to be a little bit frustrated, and sometimes that's the motivation you need to put the laps down. And 15 flat that time by. It has fallen off a little bit quicker than his last run. But I'm interested to see if Stravado can work his way back up into the top 3 before it's all said and done. Angelo Horonis has stayed out. He is 72 laps. Nick Mills behind him, 74 laps on this stint. Are these guys willing to take the gamble? Are they going to try something that nobody else has been willing to do?
It's so hard to say, and I don't have really any hope for the 29 car and the 88 if they decide to stay out. They've already got Yusuf Ghali just creeping at the back door, just 4 seconds behind. He's still on the lead lap with 60 lap newer tires. So there's unfortunately no chance in any world for the 29 and the 88 right now if this continues green.
Maybe praying for a caution here up front in the front 2 spots. Angelo Horonis is actually going to bring it down pit road now. So that pretty much is the staple of the day. 50 laps to go now when they cross the line. Actually, as they cross the line, and we're going to get 49 to go up on the board. Here comes the 88 of Nick Mills. Yusuf Ghali's going to take back the lead. John Schwartz within a couple tenths of him.
John Schwartz in hot pursuit of that 45 car, and Bradburn Shutters a little further back, about 3.5 seconds from the lead, up to roughly 3.5 seconds for John Schwartz as well, but he's in a position where he needs this win, so you'll see him start to really push probably in the next 10 to 15 laps.
Watching back there, Blake Hensley is on about 8-lap fresher tires, but not quite in the same good situation that he was in earlier in this race. He stands to pick up his lap back, but I think that's even going to be a struggle, as he is about 5.6 seconds back. Sean Kaser there in front of him, and this race starting to unwind and unravel for some of these guys that were having good success at the start. 45 of Yusuf Ghali doing what he does best. The 88 of Nick Mills gets one of his laps back. He'll go one down, still back in the 12th position. But Yusuf Ghali is going to remain your leader. John Schwartz, AJ Stravato claws his way back into the top 5 to the inside now of the 08 of Daniel Cunningham.
Travato's still sitting right around that 15-second flat lap time, where the 45, the 48, and the 44 have all kind of been around that 15.1 to 15.2, so still keeping a slightly better pace in the top 3. So I'm telling you right now, do not discount the 33 car at all.
Looking like he has the pace to get back up there to at least a top podium finish. Come off the stripe here the next time around. It'll be 41 to go. We are going to take another brief commercial break here on VSPEED. You're watching the Overtake iRacing League Cup Series. Uninterrupted coverage is going to continue right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back here live from Bristol Motor Speedway. We're riding around here with Eric Hutton, who's making a prowl back on AJ Stravato. He had worked his way up to 4th spot. But look at Eric Hutton, your pole sitter. He's clawing his way back towards the podium positions. Yusuf Ghali, of course, is leading as we left there. He has John Schwartz about 0.6 of a second behind, and then it's Radburn Shutters back here in the 3rd spot. But Logan, it's been an interesting day. We've seen guys that were really fast in the short run work their way up here, and then we've seen guys that, you know, need a good race, and here's one of them right here. He needs a recovery, but there's also Shutters back there in 3rd. He's not out of it yet.
Yeah, again, you can't really take away from anybody at Bristol. It's always somebody's race, no matter where you're at in the field. All it takes is that one caution to really just shake things up. But, you know, we haven't had hardly any, considering the track that we're at. Only 2 natural cautions, 1 extra with the stage break. But it's been an incredibly clean race today.
That it has, and the focus, that's the talent level coming in here to tonight. You know, you got your asterisks, you got your guys that have struggled, you know, normal talents like David Farmer, who is usually up in the top 5. He's been very off the pace here tonight. But then you have guys like AJ Stravato, Sean Kaser, guys that aren't in this playoff picture, and they are just, I mean, they're tearing it up tonight. Eric Hutton definitely needs to get ahead of some of these guys. He's still struggling to get around Stravato. He needs to get by that 33 to help him out in the points.
Especially closing in on 20 laps to go, sitting at 22 right now. It's getting down to crunch time. If I'm Eric Hutton, I'm pushing as hard as I can. Now, granted, you know, he might be doing just that. He is running slightly faster than Stravato ahead of him at the moment. Stravato kind of fell off the pace that he was on, so not quite making up the ground on Shutters like he was once before. But, you know, anybody in this top 5 has a chance at any given moment. It just takes one good run or that one caution. You know, it's so hard to say.
Did you say caution?
I did.
Why? Why would you say that? That's almost speaking it into existence. Would you look at that?
Bradley,
Would you look at that right there? What did you say just a second ago?
231 laps with only 2 of them is unheard of at Bristol.
Yeah, well, it's about to be heard of again. We had 3 wide there at Bristol, and that doesn't happen very often where you make it through. Wow, they are trying. Oh, boy, the 88 almost gets... Yeah, I think he got into Hensley there. They're still working on it. Oh, Logan, don't say that again, man. That almost happened.
Hey,
or you could,
but the
you could
moral
test
of the
theory.
story is, it did not happen yet.
You can test the theory. You can say it again. I think they're still working on it here.
Oh, no, you've got me scared now, Bradley.
18 to go, now 19, or 19, we're counting up. 17 to go, now as they cross the line, and Yusuf Ghali is finally able to clear the traffic and get by some of the guys that are pinned a lap down, but Blake Hensley, he needs to get around some of these guys in front of him. Sean Kaser is 7.8 seconds ahead of him here, and Yusuf Ghali is actually working on, well, that's actually a different STP car. It's the 81 of Drayton Cook. So a few different names out here. We haven't mentioned this guy at all today, so I want to go ahead and say a shout out to Drayton, and I believe his inaugural race in the Cup Series. 14th spot after starting in 18th here today. But just a quiet night here, and I'm sure that he's a talented guy and probably has a preferred racetrack. And if he's anything like me, this isn't one of them.
Yeah, I'd have to hop in that same boat there. I know Drayton Cook and Timothy Averill in the 3 car, both newcomers to the league today, being their first race. Bristol of all tracks to join in, but talking to them both, sounded very excited to be here and looking forward to next season, as this one is coming to a close. Only 2 races left after this, I believe. We've got the last race in the round of 8, and then your championship race after that.
So if they are excited, I hope they're able to catch this broadcast and, you know, give us a little love. Like and share and subscribe to the channel. And you'll never miss a single race, as we'll be bringing you next season here for the Overtake iRacing League, all the way through all 3 series, the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Cup. Looking forward to it. But we still have a champion to crown here, and this is going to be another stepping stone to that moment. But it looks like Yusuf Ghali, barring that word you said just a moment ago, has it pretty locked up. He is 2.9 ahead of John Schwartz and pulling away.
Like you said, though, barring that mystical word, there is still a lot of action back here on the track. Still some cars side by side, so it's I don't want to even mention the color.
Off of turn 2 for Eric Hutton. He got around AJ Stravado to put it up into the 4th position. Looks like he's going to lock up the day. This is what he needs. Daniel Cunningham getting to the inside of Angelo Huronis. Huronis going to go by on the outside. Blake Hensley is going to end up with a 7th position. Not too shabby there for the 31, but some of the guys, again, back to Daniel Cunningham. He needed a good day. He was winning a lot of races, finishing really well in the other series in the B car, but just not having the luck here. The 08 in the Cup Series, and then, you know, Nick Mills, who has the entire front end of that machine missing with 5 to go. I'm sure he just wants this thing to be over with. And then there's John Schwartz, last week's winner, coming off of Kansas. Now gonna seal the deal probably in the top 3, guaranteed, for the 48. He's putting together some great finishes. 4 laps to go, gonna be 3 when they cross the line. Yusuf Ghali getting by some lap traffic here. It's staying clean, it's staying green. I think we're about to have another driver locked into the playoffs.
I think it'll be easy to say it's official for Yusuf Ghali to be locked in. He is the points leader at the moment anyways, so chances were already quite high for him, but you know, with 2 to go here, it's becoming evident that he is hungry for that championship, and he's not going to let it go away easily by any means.
So one more time around the half mile at Bristol, Yusuf Ghali, your leader for the last 70 laps, doing what he does best. 71 when he crosses the line, checkered flag in the air. Yusuf Ghali, guaranteed in the top 4 at Nashville.
That is incredible to see. That second run. That was what, 130 lap green flag run?
Yes, it was, and that in itself at Bristol is impressive, but then when you're the guy that's leading it all around the racetrack, you go 3 wide at one point in this race and you're still able to come out clean. Speaks volumes about the talent of these guys and what they're able to do. All in unison here today, everyone on the same page, and we get another one in the books, all within an hour and a half. And they were worried about 300 laps here tonight. Can you believe that, Logan?
You know, there's a good reason to be scared of 300 laps at Bristol, but you know, if you drive like that, heck, they might take it 400 next time they're here.
Post-race interviews with your top 3. We're going to round up your final results here for the Overtake iRacing League Cup Series at Bristol. You're watching VSPEED. Back right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back live from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway, and we concluded 250 laps for 125 miles. The Overtake iRacing League Cup Series has finished. Playoff race number 8. Yeah, Logan, I did that completely unscripted. What do you think of that?
I thought it was great. I would have never guessed it, Bradley.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that we would have had an entire race of 3 cautions. Like, these guys just put on a show here today. They shortened the lap count. Hey, we could still be going right now, and another 50 laps, and I think we would have been fine with another 10 minutes of racing the way these guys are doing it tonight. But here's the final results up on your screen. Yusuf Ghali, after 3 cautions and 9 lead changes, is going to be victorious. Started in 13th and just led 71 laps. I mean, just led 71 laps after passing that many cars. That's pretty good. John Schwartz, after the win in Kansas, he's going to get another podium in 2nd position. Radburn Shutters, it's going to take a little bit more than that here, but he does get a podium finish in 3rd. Eric Hutton's going to finish in 4th spot with AJ Stravano, a car that was definitely fast tonight. He's going to round out your top 5. Then it's Sean Kaser, Blake Hensley, Angelo Horonis, Daniel Cunningham, and Matt Grenier with a top 10 here tonight.
Coming in behind the top 10 in the 11th position, Nick Mills in that 88. Cody Anderson in the 42. Newcomer Drayton Cook finishing out in 13th with his buddy Timothy Averill in the 3 car coming in 14th. Behind them, Brandon Volver in 15th. James Silvers in 16th. David Farmer, unlucky day for him today, coming in 17th. Quite a few laps down. And unfortunately, Jonathan Cofield, who's just been riddled with internet issues all season, coming in 18th.
Yeah, Cofield and Farmer both just tough breaks, and Cofield with the connection issue. Farmer off the pace here today, but I'm sure those guys will rebound next week at Martinsville. Hopefully we can get them back into contention for a race win. But there's your final results for the night, and finally that brings us down trackside, where we're going to catch up with your 3rd place finisher. That's Radburn Shutters in the number 44. Radburn, I know that we're trying to put it together here and get a win to lock you in. I know you're right here at the cusp of the cutoff at the final 8, but what is it going to take here at Martinsville next week after Bristol? It helps you a little bit, but it's really going to take that victory. What's it going to take?
It's going to take leading the last lap and surviving all other 299 of them. The
Yeah, I
survival
mean,
part's gonna be sketchy. That last lap's gonna be even worse, but hopefully we can just see every lap and stay on the same lap as the guy leading the race, or just lead the whole thing. That'd be nice. But in seasons past, I've been lucky enough to win this race of the season, so I could go into Martinsville lackadaisical. But that's not going to be the case this season. We're going to have to go out there and battle next week, sadly.
lackadaisical. That is a new word. I like it, but lackadaisical is not what you can be here at Martinsville next week. And I know coming into the regular season, we talked a lot to you there. You had great finishes, especially at road courses and the short tracks. But what's changed here? Has it been anything specific that's kind of put you on the back burner, or has there been something that's been different in the last few weeks?
I haven't been practicing. I've really just been junk every week. Uh, Pretty disappointed in the way I've been racing, and the lack of motivation is real. I'm ready for a couple months off from this thing, to be honest. It's been a long season, and go to bed early on a Wednesday is going to be really nice after we win the championship. But yeah, I gotta. I mean, Kansas, you can't really practice by yourself around there. Um, I'm not good at mile and a halfs anyway, or tracks like of that nature. So I look forward to these short tracks, but then when you got guys like Yusuf and John and Cofield, uh, Silver's, a farmer too. Brandon's good at the short track, dude. You got a lot of good guys that I've raced with before. That's been side by side with me at the short ones. And everybody's got their niche, and it seems like we've just got a stack of good short track drivers in here, and so that kind of takes the air out of my sails, because this is like usually my only shot at wins is these short tracks. So you got to really be able to put together every lap to be able to compete with these.
125 miles at the shortest track next to Martinsville on the schedule, and it's just impressive that you guys did it caution free as much as you did. You kept the wheels under it. You didn't have any contact with the wall unless it was side by side. That's going to happen here, but you guys did a phenomenal job, and I say you guys, but you alone, you kept it out of the wall. You kept it off other people's doors, and you come out with a top three. I have complete confidence that if you can avoid the carnage at Martinsville, you can get it done.
Yeah, yeah. As long as we can make to that final restart, that I got a good feeling we're going to get a couple green white checkers per usual Martinsville. So you can you can miss the initial one and then glide around the one that happens on the final lap, and that's going to be the way to win that race.
No doubt on that. And while we have you up in the booth, anybody that you have in mind to shout out or thank for tonight's performance?
Yeah, I'm going to thank my beautiful fiance for supporting these wild habits of ours, wild hobbies. Let me thank our sponsors, Waynesville Tire, GG's of Waynesville, Function Junction, Mountain View Detailing, everybody at Cornerstone. Not going to thank us for putting in time at practice, but I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to get more practice in this week than we probably have all season, hopefully. Yeah, everybody with OiL putting on another great show this week. All the guys showing up still this far in the season. Y'all with the broadcast, can't wait to go back and watch this one. I'm sure it's going to be good. Just looking forward to the next one. Then depending on how that goes, we'll be really looking forward to the next one after that.
Oh, we're looking forward to it as well, and we're getting set to crown a champion in the inaugural season of the Overtake iRacing League Cup Series. Radburn Shutters, congrats on third, and we'll see you at Martinsville.
Appreciate it. See you guys.
Third place finisher here tonight in the 44. Little down on himself here, Logan, but I mean, for good reason. He's kind of suffered here in the last few weeks, and it's tough to get out of that funk when you start to feel like the season's slipping away from you. But he has one more opportunity. He made it to the final 8. All you got to do is go get that win. How bad do you want it?
Absolutely. And, like he said there, it is a long season. And, he called it a wild hobby, but at the same time, you could nearly call it a full time job with how much time some of these guys put into getting in here and practicing week by week to, do as best as they can in such a long season. So I completely understand the energy there, but I'm sure he'll bounce back next week and make a good show of it. We'll see what he can do.
Well, as
But
such,
meanwhile,
we're gonna move a little bit further ahead here and get our second place finisher. And Logan, you're down with John Schwartz.
absolutely. And John Schwartz with a second place finish. Only 4 laps led though, but you didn't really have much of an issue, John. Coming off the win last week, coming out with another podium this week, you got to be feeling good going into Martinsville next week.
Yeah, thanks again. I'm happy to have gotten a solid result once again. Obviously, it's not the win they were aiming for, but I feel like every single week we're getting closer and closer. Even though we've gotten wins before, I feel like we're continually improving week after week. So even if we get the win, it doesn't necessarily mean that we've been our best at that week. It was just trying to take what we can and learning from it. So for this race, it seemed that tire saving was just like the absolute number one key since this track killed tires. So really trying to figure out how to manage finding like the lines to run early in the run versus late in the run. And then even at the end there, when we are splitting that final stage in half, I did some practice early on. Did around like 100 laps, and I split like an 80 lap run in two, just taking 2 tires, and I was about a tenth off in like the first 10 laps, but I never did an 150 lap run splitting in two. So that
Yeah,
definitely made it harder to predict whether taking two had been the right call there. It would have helped me maybe get ahead of Youssef in the lap traffic, but the fall off at the end there might have ended up not working. So still happy with being able to make that call, and the fact it went green to the end made it a little less dramatic for me. So pretty happy with that.
that was not at all what we were expecting up here in the V Speed booth. Was 2 runs. Well, I guess with the first run being cut short by the stage break, being 100 laps, and then that second run was around the 120 to 130 lap run for that green flag. So that was quite impressive for everybody on the field. But you came out ahead. You had some adversities there coming out through some traffic after that split that you did on the pit stop, but you made it well back into the top 5 quite easily. And then, of course, your second place finish here. You kind of hit all the points I was going to ask you there, John. I really wanted to see how that car was feeling at the end of those longer runs, but kind of already done that. So I guess just walk me through kind of that first half of the race.
Yeah, and honestly, the first half I really enjoyed battling with Eric near at the front. Plus, the tracks was kind of like in the sunset time of day, so it was a little bit warmer than it was at the end, and so it seemed like tire management was even more important. I felt like the 100 lap run almost wore out the tires more than later on. A lot of guys are getting meatballs and having to pit before, and so it seemed like the management was even more crucial early on. So. Uh, that seemed like particularly a good part of the run for me. I wish the race started an hour earlier in sim. I feel like that would have helped us near the end there. But the thing that really surprised me was I think that caution at the start of stage two, second and third place wrecked right in front of me, and I I had a mini heart attack there. Thought my race was over. I had to like split the middle. So definitely got to watch the replay back on that since it was really close. So yeah, just happy to have survived that. Definitely could have gone another way for sure. And finally, just have to give a shout out to obviously Youssef for the win, but Cofield for I don't exactly know what happened, but I heard he was blinking and then left the track. Just did not get in the way of others. Just have to give a shout out for being super respectful there, since he was one of the fastest cars and would have liked to battle with him, but I understand that netcode can sometimes get in the way of things. So appreciate the sportsmanship there.
Absolutely. That was about the safest call that you could get from Cofield at the moment. And like you said, you definitely had a quick car. Unfortunate to see him with the quick exit, but you still ran a great race. And, again, congratulations on the win last week and second place today.
Yeah, super proud to have 2 Ritz racing cars in the final four, and hopefully we can get a third one by in the next 2 weeks. So Look forward to see you guys at Martinsville, and finally just give a shout out to Air Connects on the car. Super proud to have them, as well as VSPEED for the broadcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, John, and we'll see you next week, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
So there he is, second place finisher of the night, John Schwartz, and shouting out to Jonathan Cofield, and we saw that as well. Just a shame for the 58, especially after last week's second place, that he has to take 18th place points here today, 97 laps down. But that brings us finally to our victor. And Yusuf Ghali, no stranger to being up here in the VSPEED booth. You've been here many, many times, and we're going to add another one. I believe that's number 6 or 7. I don't even know. I've lost count. Yusuf Ghali winning here tonight at Bristol. It doesn't surprise me you were fast tonight.
Yeah, it kind of surprised me we were fast that second run. We got lapped that first run on pure speed. I blew my right front under that yellow, so it was bad. We were not good that first stage. So,
So
being able
you
to
blew a tire under the yellow flag. I mean, how lucky is that though that it happened there and not when you're up to speed at 130 plus into the corner.
yeah, I didn't even think about it like that. Race would have been over right then and there. I think we would have just caused a 75 car pileup if that had happened. But yeah, we just took what we did from that run and adjusted on it a lot. I was gonna say a little, but no, we had to do a lot different that second run to be able to get back up with those guys.
So walk us through, because you started back in the 13th position. You were kind of on the same track that AJ Stravado. You had to pass a lot of cars, but fortunately for you, you only had to do it one time. So once the second half of this race started underway, and John Schwartz mentioned it, did the track change to just fit your driving style? Was there a transition where you just felt, okay, now it's coming to me and I'm ready to go?
Yeah, I think the higher grip levels of the night and stuff did help a lot because it makes the tire wear a little less extreme. So that was obviously gonna help us no matter what. And then I knocked my brake bias down by like 10% because I had it relatively high, thinking it was gonna be a loose setup, and I didn't want to get squirrely and wreck myself in half the field. So I put it up for the start, and that kind of ruined that first run, blowing the right front and all. So I knocked it down for that second run, and I adjusted my line pretty big, and I started pacing myself with Cofield, and that ended up working a lot.
Well, that is win number 7 for you, Yusuf. I went back and checked myself. I do these points every week, but I start to get hypnotized when I'm doing all these statistics. But you put it all together here, especially with the dominant performance in round 2. Now you're on to round 3 with another win. You've locked yourself in. I think you were going to point your way in anyway. But how good does it feel to know that, next week at Martinsville, you have nothing to worry about? You are good to go for Nashville.
After that first stage, finishing 10th in that stage, only gaining a point, and basically everybody behind us in points gaining, up to 10. I actually thought we were going to be out of it by the end of this race. So being able to come back and rally for a win and make sure we're locked in is really, really nice compared to, with Martinsville next week. So we're just going to go into next week and try not to wreck, I guess. But
I forget the word that Radburn Shutters used. Can you remind me on that, Logan?
I'm drawing a blank on it myself, Bradley. It's just
it was a
so
unique word
much.
that I've never heard before. I said I was going to use it again.
Oh goodness.
Yeah,
That's gonna bug me the rest of the night.
Well, I'm sorry to do that to you, but Yusuf, without us having a stroke and trying to remember that, is there anybody that you would like to shout out for tonight's performance?
For the 58, he was blinking at something out of his control, but he still did the right thing and pulled his car off the track and made sure that we all raced safely. So I really do have to give him a shout out for that, because not a lot of people would do that with how fast he was. So at the end of the day, like, him pulling himself off the track as a fast car is something I can always shout out. It's really a noble move.
Well, there you go. That in itself, that's 2 shout outs for you, Jonathan Cofield. Hope you take note of that. Hope he, even after the terrible finish that resulted in, goes back and can hear those kind words, and you guys taking the appreciation for that. Anything else you got for me before we let you go?
I think that's about it.
Well, Yusuf, we appreciate your time, buddy, and win number 7. Enjoy it. We will see you at Martinsville, and we'll guarantee you that we're going to see you at Nashville. Hopefully, get to crown that championship, and we'll see what you got for him.
I'm hoping, guys. Thank you.
Yusuf Ghali, race winner here at Bristol, locked into the Final Four after this week. And that brings us to the conclusion of our broadcast. Did you remember it yet, Logan?
No, I'm still drawing a blank on it, unfortunately. It'll randomly pop into my head as soon as we cut the cameras here, but I've got nothing, unfortunately.
So there it is, the schedule on your screen. There have been some adjustments. Of course, tonight we ran 250 laps instead of our 300 scheduled originally back when this date was made back in January. That's how long we've been racing here in the Cup Series. But we're going to Martinsville next week. Hope you guys can join us next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can catch all of the Overtake iRacing League races at 9 p.m. We have the Monday Truck Series and the Tuesday Xfinity all broadcasted here on VSPEED. But for everybody at VSPEED that made this possible, Adam Baker doing the graphics in the background, our other producers, Eddie Smith, Christian Hill, well, Logan, he does some production in the background, Morgan Cook, and I believe that's one more name that I'm drawing a blank on, but co-commentator Logan Threlkeld, thank you for being here tonight. It is Bradley Cooper telling you to have a great rest of your week. We will see you tomorrow night for QSR and their chase for the Cup, 8:30. Until next time, take care, everybody.